Welcome back to Blender Beginners, and this is another video on the Army Crate. In the last video we modeled this thing, and I should point out that I've added bolts or screws right here on these hinges at the back, and that's the only change that I've made. And now I want to start working on materials, and I'm going to do the wood material. I want to point out that there are many ways that you could use to do this. Probably the best way to do this would be to design wood in Substance Designer so that it's unique and very customizable, and then to apply that in Substance Painter, and that would be a fantastic pipeline to use. Not everybody can do that, and so what we're going to do is we're going to use another method, which is to use an image map for the wood. Now this is a simple series of tutorials, and so it's not going to be necessarily ideal, and it's not going to be necessarily the best way, but it's an easy way. So if you've modeled up to this point and you just want to do something that looks cool and have some fun, then this is the video for you to do that. All right. Now another way, of course, that you could do the wood is to use a procedural method using just the shader editor and nodes, and that is another way to do it. So now the wood texture or image that we're going to use, I'm going to provide to you. So there's a download link so you can use the exact same image. It's 1024 by 1024, so it's not the highest resolution, but it's just something to slap on here and to see how we could do this. All right, just before we get started doing that, what I think we should do is organize our stuff by putting stuff into collections. So I'm going to select all the pieces that I want to have as wood. I've still got some mirrors on, and that's fine for now. So I'm going to select all the wood areas, go M, new collection, and I'm going to call this wood. Just like that. So here it is, it shows up there. I'm going to hide that. And everything else, I'm going to select A to select it all, M, new collection, I'm going to call metal. Now I will have another collection later on. If I hide that, I should have everything. For lights and camera. We'll do that in another video. So at this point I'm going to hide all of that, and I just want to focus just on the wood today. Alright, now in order to use this method we need to UV unwrap this. So I'm going to head over to UV editing, and I've got my two screens. Now you can see there's already something in here. Blender by default creates UV maps, but they're not ideal, so we're going to do this ourselves. So I'm going to start by selecting that piece and slash key to just focus on that. Now there are many methods to UV unwrap as well, and this one is going to be a very simple one because this is a simple object. I'm going to go in to edit mode, I'm going to select it all like that, and I'm going to go Control E, mark scene, and you can see these red lines. And this defines or determines where Blender will cut this model. So I will have a piece here, and a piece here, and a piece here, here on the bottom, and on the end, etc. So I've done that. Hit A to select it all. Press U in this screen right here. U, and I'm going to click UV unwrap, and I just want you to watch over here. U unwrap, and I get this. Now I'm going to click over here on these arrows, the up arrow and the down arrow, and that allows me to sync these two windows so that if I select just this face, I can see in Blender where it is. It's this one. Or if over here, if I select this face, it shows this one. You'll notice the size difference as well. These sides are very small relative to these. Now, something we need to think about is the fact that the larger the size is in the UV window, the more of the texture it's going to use. The bigger the size, or the bigger the UV island, these are all called islands, small islands, big islands. the bigger the island, the more detailed the texture is going to be. And so you can see I've got a big island here for a piece underneath that is not even going to be seen. So we're going to think about this, and I'm going to be scaling this down here. Be careful, don't scale it over here, you'll scale your actual model. I'm going to simply unwrap it the way I'm doing, but I'm going to scale it over here so that it uses a very small amount of the window. I don't want to waste the space because all you have is this. And I'll show you, and that's for the whole model. So I'm going to bring this back. I've done this piece. I'm going to come over here, come in, and because it's a square, again, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Control E, mark seam. So I've got all those red lines. U, unwrap. And now this one might look a little bit different. All right. Now that is the top. And the top is pretty much covered. I didn't want to delete this top, though, and this bottom face, as we often do, because there's a bevel on, and because there's a slight gap between these. If I delete that, you're going to see that there's a problem. All right, so I haven't deleted them, but I will also be scaling that piece down, and this one on the bottom here, that's pretty much blocked. You're scaling that down. But these pieces here, that side, and that side, and that side, and that side, I'm going to want to keep relatively large, and these small. But we'll deal with that in a bit. Up to this one, go in, same thing, Control E, mark seam, U, unwrap. Okay, so once again, the top piece is going to be very important. It's visible. These pieces here will be relatively important. You can notice this one's quite long, and it's represented with a larger area here for this piece, smaller area. And that piece is going to be important. The piece underneath it, that piece is not going to be very important at all. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this one. Control E, mark seam, U, unwrap, and do this one. Control E, mark seam, U, unwrap. Okay, so if I select all of these together, go into edit mode and hit A to select all of that, you have this. Now some of these are overlapping, so we'll deal with that in a moment. I'm really going to be unwrapping them together. Now these pieces here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to go Control E, mark seam. The thing about these, though, is because of the way I've cut these, I think I don't want this as a completely separate piece here and this. I think I want this piece to flow into that one and into that one. And so I'm going to come back in here, and in edge selection number 2, I'm going to select this edge and this edge, Control E, and clear seam. So now when I unwrap, like that, I will get these strange, angles on there. I think that's going to be okay, but this piece will flow into that piece. So all of this stuff here represents that. And I just think it'll make a slightly nicer transition, and these pieces will be in the same orientation. All right, with that done, I'm going to select everything. I'm going to U, unwrap one more time, just like that. So I've unwrapped the whole thing, and now I have this. Okay, now I need to do a little bit of that manipulation I talked about. I'm going to select the bottom face, and I see, okay, so it's down here. I'm going to make that small, like really small. In fact, I'm going to move it out for the moment. All right, we need to find the other bottom pieces. Select around here. Well, it looks like I see that highlighted. That's the top of this piece. I'm going to make this small. It doesn't have to be necessarily the same size. Okay, I can take that and hide it for the moment. Let's come in here. I'm going to select that one. S. I'm going to make it small. Just going to pull it out here. All right, so I've got that so far. I'm going to come back into this one. I can just highlight this and take this top. Okay, that one. I'm going to make it small. Just move it down out of the way. Okay, now do I have all of that? Do I have the bottom piece of that? Yeah. I have the top piece of that, and I made it small. Slash key. This one, let me go back. This top piece, yeah, it's small. And this bottom piece, yeah. Okay, slash. I come to these ones. I could do it this way. Slash key. Come in. I'm going to select all these bottoms. Okay, I want them small. S to scale. I'm going to move them up. Grab this one and just move it over here. Okay. Let's see if I've done everything I needed to do. No, not yet. This one, let's work on the bottom of this one. It's mirrored, so okay. S, scale it down, move it over here. Okay, let's bring everything back. Select everything, go into edit mode, and this is what we have. Okay, now this stuff here is important. Those faces, this one and this one, and the sides kind of. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this stuff here, and I'm going to come to UV, and I'm going to say pack islands. So it's packed it, and it's made them a little bit bigger as well. Now let's look at these here. Those pieces are going to be quite visible. So I'm going to press G to move them, and I'm going to press S to scale. I'm going to scale them bigger. What else have we got in here? It's those sides. May not be able to do too much. Oh, these ones are the... This one here. Where's that? That's a side there. That's a pretty important side. And that's a pretty important side. These two angled ones. That's that side, and that's mirrored. I'm going to press G to grab. I'm going to move them. And I'm going to rotate 90 degrees, bring them up here, and I'm going to scale them bigger. The larger they are, the more space they take up, the better the texture is going to be. This one and this one, okay, those are okay. What's this little piece here? Well, that small piece and this small piece represents the ends, and that's the top. I think I'm going to take these two. I'm going to move them up here and this one, and I want these bigger than that. Okay. Not too bad. There's more we could do, of course, but now let's just come around here and let's start seeing if we can fit these pieces in. These things can be even smaller, but it won't take forever to do this. Just get them in. Don't have them touching or overlapping. Make them even smaller. Alright, that's fine. This is my UV unwrap. Make sure you're saving. Okay, I've UV unwrapped my crate. Cool. Okay, we are ready to carry on now with putting on the wood texture. I'm going to come over to the shader editor here. I'm going to join this and this. You'll notice that things look different. This looks white, and I see this blurry background. I'm now in Material Preview or Look Dev. With a piece of this selected, I'm going to click New, and I'm going to type Wood. All right, I've created a new material, a wood material, and there's a principal BSDF and a material output. And you can see the material over here. Select, and select this one, Control L. Link materials. So I should have the wood on all of these. Okay, so here we go. We're going to add that wood. Now, To do this, you need a wood image, and I provided that on the Discord, so just follow the link and you can get the same one. Of course, you can try different woods, but if you're unsure, we can just use this one. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is click on the Principled BSDF and go Control T. If you have the Node Wrangler enabled, you will have this. Press G, drag it up here. You will have this stuff on here. It puts down a texture coordinate, and you'll notice that the line is coming out of UV because we've UV unwrapped this, and this is what we want to use. You have a mapping node, and you have an image texture. We're now going to load the first image texture, the wood image texture, and it's going to go into the base color. So find where your wood texture is, click open, and just navigate to it. It's this wood 2 material. Click open image, and you can see it's already applied it on here. We do have some problems, however. We have to look at the grain of this. I'm going to have to do some manipulations, but this is basically what it's going to look like. All right, I'm going to switch this here. We'll try this one. Okay, I just like the lighting a little bit better for working on this. All right, I can minimize this for the moment. We're going to come back and do some more work here, but first of all, I want to adjust the direction of the grain. Okay, UV editing. I come in here. I can see the wood material. Notice that this wood image does have horizontal lines, as if this is planks. This is a good floor material, and I don't really want that in my model. So I'm going to come over here and scroll with my mouse button. I'm just scrolling up and down to the middle circle there, material preview, so I can do this in the UV window. Deselect. Now, if I select this with these arrows on, I can see this is the piece, and it does go across these lines, and you can see the lines, but it also goes up and down, and I think I want the grain going around here. So I'm going to select this piece, and I'm going to R, rotate 90, just like that, and then press G and drag it in between the lines. And now the grain is going this way. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do this piece here. Rotate 90. And I'm just going to move it somewhere, anywhere. It doesn't really matter if they overlap at this point. We'll be moving some of these. And this one, rotate 90. And have that right there for a different color. I now have the grain going around the box. I don't really care about the underside, but let's look. Okay, let's come up here. Let's take this piece. Okay, and then you decide. I want the grain going this way on top. Rotate 90. It looks like all of these. And then just choose a space. And if it's a little bit too big to fit in the lines, you can always go S. Just scale it a little bit so you don't see those. Okay, got that one. Let's do this one. Rotate 90. Okay, looks good. This one, rotate 90. Anywhere you want. Just, have it look a little bit different than the previous. I can see this cut mark there, so maybe I want this in a different location. Okay, so those grains are going that way. Let's look at this top piece first. And I think I want the grain coming this way. I'm just going to select the top. Rotate 90. Now that'll do it for both of them because this is mirrored. And what you might want to do here is apply the mirror and then go in and do this one independently. So they look different. Okay, let's come back down now and decide how we want the grain for this one. I think I want it going around like that. So I'm going to take this piece, rotate 90, G, move it there. That looks okay. I don't really see the inside there, so I'm not going to worry about that. In fact, I could have made those smaller. This one, rotate 90. Just position it somewhere. Okay, how's this grain? Do I want it going up like that? I think maybe I do. Not sure yet. Let's come down here though. Let's select this one. I want it going horizontally. Rotate 90. This one, rotate 90. G, I'll scale it a bit. This one, let's go in there. Rotate 90 for that one as well. I can go in there as well. Okay, very nice. This is coming up like that. Okay, this is what I was talking about before about the way I did those. I'm not sure if that actually mattered because it looks like that one's going like that. That one looks like, let me just try rotate 90 on that and see. I do have the edge, but let me just see what that does. Yeah, I think I'm going to like that better. So I'm going to come in here and scale it a little bit just to make sure you don't have the lines. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to come to the back of this. And we'll rotate 90 for that. I'll put it over here and scale it down a bit. Yeah, I think that's going to look better. Come here. Got that. And let's keep saving and let's have a look and see what I've missed. Okay, over here, it's spanning across those. I'm going to try rotate 90 and just G. I don't think that's correct. So let's see if I just scale it. I mean, the best kind of wood to use would not have these lines, but we can get around it this way. That's okay. I think that's okay. The way that I'm doing this and the fact that, you know, the image is not, you know, the greatest resolution. I just want to show you how to do this. All right. Or one way that you can do this. It seems, where am I? Let's get some of this dark stuff in here. I think we're okay. Let's go back to layout, look dev, and I'm going to switch this. In fact, I may use this one just to have a look. I just want to look in the gaps, see if it looks okay. So it's quite blurry. That's something I should point out. You see how blurry this is compared to, say, the side looks a little bit sharper. That's because I scaled this very small on the UV map. But we're not going to see that. We wanted to use the space to have these larger. Now, before we go any further, let's come over here. I'm going to be using Eevee sampling. I'll deal with that later, but I want to click on Ambient Occlusion, and let's have a look at this. As soon as I did that, some shadow showed up. It makes it look a little bit nicer. In fact, I'm going to switch this to, instead of 1, just keep looking at it, 2. And it's even darker. All right, now there's got some definition to it. And there is our trait so far. Now, if you want to look at it differently, you can try different HDRI images in the background to see how things are looking. And we have some wood on here. Now, there's more that we want to do with this wood, so let's go on and do that. All right, let's select a piece and go back in the shading tab. Maybe I'll use that same HDR. And this is all we have so far, and it's looking quite nice. Okay, now we're going to do a little bit of cheating. All right, this is not the greatest idea. Ultimately, you would like a texture that has the diffuse, the roughness, the height, maybe specular, all that stuff. But I'm going to use the same image as the way we used to do it a while back. So I'm going to duplicate that image down here. I'm going to box select this and move it out. And I'm going to take this vector and I'm going to plug it in here. I'm reusing this image. In fact, I probably don't even have to do it again. But all right, I'm going to add a vector bump. But I think in between those, I'm going to put a color ramp, converter color ramp. Put that there. Color into FAC. Color into height. And we're going to take this and plug this into the normal. And you can see things have gone a little crazy. Let's put this as 0.1 first of all for some bump. And now if we pull this, we get some changes to this. We don't get quite as much bump. We can control it to some extent. Now if I come back into layout, it might seem a little bit more. So we have some bump in there. I'll put it there. I'll try this. Okay, with this one you can see. Let's pull this down and make sure this one is up. Give ourselves a bit of room. Let's do one more sort of cheating here. Let's take this, Shift D, and pull them up. Connect this vector to vector here. And let's take this same image and put it into the roughness. Okay, notice the shininess of this. All right, that'll just create some sort of shiny splotches on this at various points, and you can control that here with the position of these, and also by how intense this color is. Watch this. All right, so I just want a little bit so that there's just a little bit of variation to that. If you want, you can go Shift A, color, say hue and saturation. You could drop that in there. All right. So I'm just changing the wood color a little bit. All right. That's our wood for now. What we have yet to do is to bring the metal back. All right, we'll put some metal on this, and then we'll put some text on this as well, and that'll be that. All right, so I know that was very simple and not necessarily ideal, but it still works, and I think it still looks cool. So thank you for watching, and hope to see you next time.